I would love to know what problems new bank is supposed to solve. And I would love you guys to tie it into the problem that your individual startups are solving. So I'll start from the next person.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So new banks and open banks are meant to help to bridge the gap that exists between traditional banks and their end users, right? And as we grow as an economy, right, you are going to be having people having different behaviors when it comes to the way they access financial services. So neobanks have come to help to bridge that gap, like the neobanks help the traditional banks, because neobanks don't exist in isolation. They also rely on the infrastructure of the traditional banks. So they literally just help the traditional banks to deepen their financial inclusion and everything that relates to access to financial services. So at FINCRA, for example, we help to provide infrastructure for people who want to build financial solutions for their environment, for their own type of users. We've seen the people come up with use cases for their own customers. People have banking services for a different set of users. We have banking services for Gen Z. You have banking services for people who are in the older generation. You can have access to different APIs or infrastructure that allows you to build services for those people, be it the fact that you want to provide loans. When you're providing loans, you need to do disbursements, you need to do identification, and you also probably need to do collection. So at FINCRA, we help to power all those things.
Thank you very much. How do you how do your company manage expectations? How do you compete your competition? How do you continue that quality improvement?
Okay, so like we have experienced in the last 3-4 years, innovation has always moved ahead of regulation. We've seen innovations have come and regulation always have to catch up with it. And because of the way innovation works, no matter what regulation comes up with, innovation will always move another step ahead of whatever regulation comes. So, and I think that cycle is literally going to continue. Every company, regulators are going to always come and knock at your door based on some certain policies and the likes. And because of that, companies are going to go back inwards and look at their values and drive the kind of innovation that is required to keep the required vision alive. Like at FINCRA, for example, we try as much as possible when there are regulatory requirements that we feel are coming to siphon some of the convenience that we give to our customers, for example. We also sit down and look at other ways to innovate around some of those things, right? So I think this will continue to happen in cycles. Government is going to come and tell you, don't do this, don't do that. Then you're also going to sit down. Just the way finance works today, where before today, APIs probably are not that popular as they are like 5 years ago. And government probably did not have regulations around APIs maybe 10-15 years ago. But when technology started coming up and started opening up different channels, then government also started coming up with regulation. But I also see a time where government and innovators will also have to collaborate because we can't continue to play the cat and mouse games. I see it happening anytime in the future. But innovation will always have its way. Yeah, I think apart from fraud, infrastructure is still a very big problem for neobanks, right? Like in almost every month now, you hear stories of some services getting shut down. Like recently we've had virtual cards. A lot of platforms have to shut down virtual cards, literally because the infrastructure is still residing outside the shore of the continent, for example. So everybody now starts looking for the next guy that will provide the service. So I think that the infrastructure side of things is still very, very open. And I think user behavior in the space or in the country as we speak is going to define in the near future how we're going to build our next set of infrastructure, right? The way people are going to be using finance is going to be determined by their faith. For example, we can say that in the southwest of Nigeria, people have access to loans with interest. Maybe you get to the northern side of Nigeria, their faith decides the kind of financial services that they will have access to. And infrastructure has a lot to play in allowing them provide those services without any disruption anywhere. So I think it's very, very key to mention that the infrastructure side of things is still not solved.